Hi, my name is Delisa Alfred, and today I will be presenting on a graduation approach analysis for Village Enterprise. The problem that Village Enterprise is attempting to tackle is a problem of extreme poverty. Over 50% of those who live in extreme poverty in the world reside in sub-Saharan Africa, and even though that rate has fallen across the world, is currently increasing in sub-Saharan Africa, and estimates are showing that by 2030, 90% of the world's extreme poor will live in sub-Saharan Africa, and this especially affects Uganda, as they are one of the world's largest hosts of refugees in the world. Even though they are politically stable, the countries surrounding them are not, and they are gracious enough to host many people, and so they have the burden of their own population struggling, as well as attempting to take care of populations who are fleeing danger and struggling. Amartya Sen is quoted as saying, "Poverty is not just a lack of money, it is not having the capability to realize one's full potential as a human being." And this is what the traditional graduation model was attempting to address, that it is not just a cash transfer system, because poverty is not just solved by giving cash transfers. To get a person above the extreme poverty line, first we have to make sure the correct people are in the program. That is the first pillar. And then there are 4 other building blocks to traditional graduation models. The first is the consumption support, so people are receiving what they need, and that's savings, then skills training, asset transfers, and this builds on for longer. And as you can see, the traditional model is 2 to 3 years here. And so we will explore that a little bit more and how different that is with the Village Enterprise model. The Village Enterprise model strays a little bit away from the traditional graduation model, as it still does have 5 building blocks that are similar to the original, those being targeting, but then creating business savings groups, training, seed capital, and mentoring. And in that, they are also shortening the program to 1 year long. So whereas the traditional model is 2 to 3 years, Village Enterprise is doing 1 year total for everything, to be more cost effective, and we'll go through all of the building blocks. Okay, so we'll begin with targeting. They are targeting persons who are in the area who are living on less than $1.90 a day, who typically have no business experience, who are struggling to provide basic needs for their families, and they find people based on poverty assessments, and that is using the Poverty Probability Index as well as the Participatory Wealth Ranking exercise, used in the community, where people in the community, we're taking 10 questions, asking those 10 questions that are based on the local status in the country, that tells more about whether or not a person has a latrine in their home, or they have an outhouse, or they can separate certain things, which lets the organization know and the community know that this person is really in need based on the living standards in the country. And for Village Enterprise, they primarily serve women. About 80% of the persons in their programs are women. Women-led households are more benefited by the program, as well as rural youth. About 70% of the country of Uganda is under 35. And those in rural areas are even younger, and refugees. As I said previously, Uganda is host to a large population of refugees, especially in the north of the country. So we'll look at the business savings groups. In the business savings groups, there are about 10 businesses per group. Per business savings group. There will be 3 people in a group to create a business plan with, which can be talked about a little bit later. It's a form of microfinance, so the people that you go to training with, those 30 people will be split up into 10 groups. 10 groups of 3, And as a group, the people you went through training with and everything, they basically form their own bank in a way. And so they become their own form of self-managed microfinance. So everybody puts something into the pot. And if you need a loan or if you need help, then you can apply away from the pot. And so that helps with giving a safety net for shocks that happen in the market and in the systems, but as well as functioning as a support system. So the entire group of 30 that one would go into training with would become an entire support system, and then they would scale down into. As Village Enterprise has shortened the model down to 1 year, the training lasts for 3 to 4 months. So a cohort of persons, of about 30 persons, will enter training for 3 to 4 months, learning business skills, financial literacy, financial support to include their families in this process, as well as environmental resource sustainability, so that the program is ensuring the long-term viability of the environment, because vulnerable populations are more adversely affected by climate change. And then later on, the training group will be split into 10 business groups, and they will all share one mentor. After training, the business savings groups will be split into groups of 3 persons who will come up with a business plan together under the guidance of their mentor, and they will receive, after approval, a seed capital to start their businesses. And this is not a loan, as Village Enterprise acknowledges that their members are new to business. They don't start with much capital, and they don't believe that they will be able to pay back a micro loan, as traditional loans begin to accrue as soon as they are taken out, and people don't have the time to build up their businesses as they are also trying to pay back the loans. So they're doing this for longevity. And after 6 months under guidance of their mentor, if they have been proven to show good business practices, then they are approved for a second grant in 6 months. Mentors are integral to the Village Enterprise model. One mentor is given per group of 30, and so that is one mentor per 10 business groups, and they help guide the group on business practices and best practices, approve whether or not their business plans are good enough, and whether or not they should receive their second grant. And they are also given tools and trainings to ensure that they are equipped to help those that they are mentoring for 1 year. So the impact of this graduation model light has been, especially for recent years, that the average total savings per business saving group has been about $1,000. And for each household, savings have gone up over 300%. An annual household per capita consumption and expenditures have also gone up, meaning that people are now able to buy things that they need. They are now included in the economy more, and that they are also having a safety net by having savings. So they are also now more protected by shocks, protecting them from falling back into extreme poverty. There's an increase in daily meal consumption, as well as an increase in weekly animal protein consumption by 144%, which means that this is not just a program that is helping these participants financially. This is helping the community become healthier as a whole, and ensuring that further generations won't fall back into the cycle of poverty, and that they will have a better start because they are eating well, and that they are able to concentrate better, and that their family may also be able to send children to school, and they are starting off better. And this is also helping with the gender divide in communities, as 76% of business owners are women. And this program is also helping women and women's standing in the community, as shown by the randomized control trial that was taken for this program. So, the program was analyzed for 2013 to 2016 via a randomized control trial. And the randomized control trial evaluated the entire package as a whole, as well as the business in a box model. They evaluated the program based on whether or not people received the entire package, minus the savings group, so minus some of the behavioral supports, and then those who just didn't receive it at all, and those who just received the cash transfer. And what was seen from that randomized control trial is that those who received the entire package, so the entire graduation model, showed a bigger benefit to people long term, bigger than just the cash transfer and much better than just the business in a box. The mentoring and everything involved is valuable. It's also shown to be less expensive than the traditional graduation model. The Village Enterprise model is able to show returns on investment in 3 to 4 years. As we know, and as previous data from BRAC and other studies have shown, that the graduation model is expensive. While it is valuable and is very effective in pulling people out of poverty and walking with them to make sure that they can stay out of poverty, it's expensive and costly, and it is an investment. And for countries who need them, and in the world that we are in at present, where need is going up, but funds are not going up at the same rate, it is important to find alternatives and interventions that will be more cost effective and less costly, just to commiserate with where we are as a society. So now for my recommendations. My 3 recommendations are to establish a post-grad program. As this program is only 1 year, it's half the time of the traditional graduation model. I do believe that there is room to start after the 1 year an elevated graduation model where people have access to a microfinance loan to grow their business, where they have training on the growth of their business, hiring employees, as we know that as we are building a community, everyone in the community may not be able to have their own business, but we can have the support and the building of local businesses in a community that is growing with new skills, and ensuring that people are also able to train their employees and to maintain them and understand what that may look like. That we have long-term mentorship, that we have new mentors, more mentors who have bigger businesses, so that people who want to grow and want to have a larger business, want to have multiple employees, can have that, so that we can grow even further away from the poverty line, not just right out of poverty. Also, that we have an alternative strategy for targeting refugee populations. While I did focus on the program from 2013-2016, Village Enterprise has forayed into targeting refugee populations, but that has shown that their model for targeting, as they would traditional Ugandans, does not work for refugees. So having a new model for the poverty index, to ask different questions to ensure that those who are entering the program on the refugee side are being evaluated correctly. The Village Enterprise graduation model is very unique and also beneficial to those who are a part of it. And while there is room for improvement, they are doing amazing work. And I believe that the improvement that is needed is only to ensure that people who are going through the program can have bigger dreams, that they can do more than just be above the poverty line, that they can escape the threat of falling directly back into poverty at any large shock in the country. And I do believe that my recommendations do address those issues. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful summer.